Another episode of our favorite plugin series as we approach the end of the year. In this video, my most used so far, mastering plugins. Let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixBus TV. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, please check the info box down below for my mixing courses on ProMix Academy, free plugin special discounts and offers, and of course, if you really want to learn how to mix and master professionally, click the join button down here, become a MixBus TV member, access the already big and always growing library of full mixing courses, start to finish, mastering courses on so many different genres, and a lot more. And now keep an eye on the channel for our new, very popular new format, the live mixing classes. Those are one-offs. If the videos are helping you, please consider using the super thanks and support the channel. Let's get to the video. I'm gonna start this video arguably in the strangest way possible by excluding from this list one bundle, which is Softtube Vice Mastering Bundle. Why? Because I think at this point, if you've been following the channel for a little bit, you already know how much I absolutely love and adore the Vice bundle from Softtube. And for me, they are arguably the best mastering plugins out there. So nothing is like DS1 and K3 or EQ1 or the Vice de-esser and even the limiter. I've done so many videos on these plugins and they got featured in my mastering courses, in my mastering videos. I actually have a dedicated mini series on the Vice DS1 and K3 because it's a very complicated plugin to use, okay? That doesn't mean we are scratching them off the list. Quite the opposite. If you can afford them and you are serious about mastering, that's a bundle you want to have. With that said, let's go with the first one. Eventide Split EQ. I know this one also got featured several times, but for a good reason. I truly believe that this plugin is somewhat revolutionary, and since I got it, I found myself doing exactly what I envisioned the first time that I tried it, which is now I can do things and I can think differently about mastering, because with this plugin I can do things that were unthinkable before, right? The way it splits transient from tonal information within a two-track, within a mix, is unprecedented. We have never seen it before. They implemented it perfectly. And I really feel this EQ changed thing in the way that now we can solve problems in mastering. So as a professional mastering engineer, you receive a mix and you don't have access to the mix, okay? The mix can be reopened. You can't go and open your other session. You just have the mix. You have to master it. You have to make it work. We can solve problems with this EQ that was basically impossible in some cases before, or it would require so much work with questionable results. I'm gonna give you two absolutely basic examples, common thing that I find myself doing when I master tracks with this EQ. First one is bringing out the kick drum, whether it's the punch, the body, or the deep low end, or a snare in a mix. With the regular EQ, if you try and bring up the kick drum, you're probably gonna drag the bass with it, and many times other things. If you have like an 808, even worse, and you just have to pray that you find an acceptable compromise. With split EQ doesn't happen, and it's so easy, it feels like cheating. You just grab the transient node here, the green one, which will boost the low end only on transient material. So in this case, we're gonna try to do the kick. Let's put it back to 0 and let's hear it.
Try to look around yourself, everything just looks so bad. The world we're living seems to be so wild. What is good, we're gonna change, and what is bad, we're going to pray. But baby, trust me, what's over to follow. What's the meaning of the time you're wasting?
And we can isolate this and hear what it's doing. And if you need, you can go down here and adjust the separation. Which is absolutely amazing. And I find myself doing this very often. The second common use is bringing up a vocal in a mix. Maybe they're too low, maybe they're a little muffled. Again, nothing easier. You just grab the tonal handle in where the vocal sits in the mix.
To get your body home, blocky fold, lock and load. It's off at the top of your dome like artichokes. These artists choke, can't stand this kind of smoke. Adios. Que pasa, nasa, vámonos. Ya toca lado, I know y'all grinding dominoes. Y'all need to stop it and go stocking or go mop the flow. Rapido, I'm a capo, do tutti capi. You and I. Hey yo, face, let's put the heat on. These weak mouths, put them key rhymes. Beat on these peons, till I see them holding up peace signs. Y'all better be wise and behave, cause these guys will be keeping stick.
Notice, no hi-hats is coming up, no snare is coming up. It really feels like cheating. And all I've done is just grab two notes and boost them up. It literally feels like cheating. So our first favorite mastering plugin is Split EQ by Eventide. Let's go to the next one. I have a lot of favorite clippers. And by the way, if you don't see plugins that either you saw me using in mastering or you think they should belong in this video, it's because I'm doing a series with best EQ, best compressors. We've seen the best for vocals and we've seen the best for tubas. It's because I don't want to be redundant and feature the same plugins on every video. So I try to actually take a look at what I use either in mastering or my most used EQs or some specialty plugins and just try to spread them out throughout the video so people get to see more plugins and, you know, maybe they don't know some of them. So I do have a lot of clippers that I like and use, like Geer, TC, Fire Clip from Acoustica, same as for Gain Station, but I felt like for mastering, the new updated version of K-Clip 3 by Cads Rock was the most fitting, is the one that I very, very often use. And it also is one of the few, if not the only, clipper that offers multiband processing. Personally, I don't often use the multiband function, but when I do need to clip and go with multiband with it, K-Clip there is definitely my go-to, and usually that's it. That's what I actually use. But with that said, I very often use it in wideband mode because the algorithm just sound amazing. For mastering, I usually stick to smooth or crisp. But even if I use smooth, which is probably my most used, I never use the soften. My soften knob is always at 0. Usually the way I use it, I don't lower the threshold. I just link input and output and just push the signal into it until I start clipping here.
I gotta say something. Get out! I can't breathe. Get out! I can't sleep. Your love is turning you killer. Your love is turning you killer to me.
Okay, and every time it's like pretty crazy, especially on material like this, which is aggressive already and has some distortion, as in saturation, the good kind. You can mask clipping, like in this case, I'm just casually clipping an excess of 4 dB and it's fairly transparent, so with and without really quick.
Your love is turning you killer. Your love is turning you killer to me. Hey, yeah.
Okay, you see when you switch from smooth to crisp, you tend to clip more, and to me, crisp is okay if you barely touch it and it actually has a purpose because it does have a sound. Smooth, I find, is just such a safe bet when you go clipping in mastering. But you all know K-Clip number 3. Again, we have a video on the channel. This is number 2. Let's go to number 3. The absolute king of spatial and stereo manipulation. Again, we've seen it before. One of the most popular videos on the channel, Dr. MS by Matthew Lane. Now, of course, I have the hardware, so I don't find myself using the plugin that much in mastering, although I do use it. I do use it because Dr. MS has some features that the hardware doesn't have, namely the filters. And that's extremely important for me when you use the focus and the field options. So these two modules at the bottom. And I do have high pass filters on the hardware, but I don't have individual filters for focus and field. And actually here we have both HPF and LPF. So if I need the filters, I just default to the plugin. I'm gonna give you an example really quick. Let's try to use the focus, which in the hardware is called zoom. I'm looking at it because I need to remember which one does what. The focus, it basically creates new stereo information from the mono information, okay? So I usually use it as an alternative to widen the mix, but also enrich the mix and create like 3D. Sometimes some mixes land on my desk and they are a little flat and 2D, right? This is a great tool. A little goes a long way. Sometimes the problem when I create this new stereo information from the mono is that in the mono channel, I have kick, I have snare, I have a lot of things. So sometimes you don't want those elements in the equation when you create the new stereo information, and that's why the plugin is great. So if I solo what I'm creating with this, without the filter, I get everything that is in the mid channel. With the HPF filter engaged, I can remove the 808 and low end there.
Yeah.
No, I'm messing with the flow, with the pen I take your soul. Yeah. 93 double O, if you ain't know, now you know. Real shit, no joke. Time.
Again, we have a dedicated video on Dr. Remaster. It's just every time I use this plugin, it's just mind-blowing. Definitely something you will want to have in your arsenal. Let's get to the next one. Tone Project Unison Compressor, which I think I have to update because I have like an old version of this. Now, again, we featured, actually, I think we are the channel who presented this plugin when it first came out. It's an absolutely incredible mastering compressor in the strict sense of it. The control, the fine tuning that you have with this compressor is second to none, and I feel it rivals and in many cases surpasses some of the big boys hardware compressor for mastering. At least we are at the same level to the point that this plugin can be inserted in a full mastering chain and you're right there. It literally has options that no other compressor has. I don't have any problem admitting it. When you open the edit style panel, this is probably the only plugin or piece of hardware that is like even over my head, which says something because that's what I do and I've been doing for a minute. Well, I just want to mention a couple of things. The relax function. When I use this compressor, I almost always use the relax function, and it's just the way it handles the dynamic, and it can be so transparent in its action. And I also love the extended channel links function that it has. Let's just give this a shot.
I never really knew quite how to sing, but I wanna sing for you. And if I could have just anything, it'd be a little more time with you. Yeah, I'm always down for you. Spend my days all by myself in a lonely, crowded room. But when you send me Weezer, no one else. Yeah, I'm always down for you. Yeah, I'm always down for you. I never really knew quite how to sing, but I wanna sing for you. And if I could have just anything, it'd be a little more time with you. Yeah, I'm always down for you.
It's crazy, like it really makes me smile every time because you can even find a compressor in the analog world with these amount of functions and with this much control. So Unison mastering compressor from Tone Project, definitely in the mastering toolbox. We can't talk mastering without talking about mastering limiters. There's gonna be a couple in this video. The first one I'm gonna mention, again, we've seen it on the channel. And again, I found myself using the Smart Limit by Sonible very, very often. I gotta be honest, I don't vary my mastering limiters that much. I kinda stick to what I know it works, even because I don't really rely on mastering limiters that much. I usually just do 1 dB and a half of gain reduction with mastering limiters, but still, I kind of tend to stick of what I know because my mastering limiters are inside an analog chain and the balance is when you have a somewhat complicated chain, not because you're doing a lot of processes, but because there's a lot of moving parts, right? The capture and converter, the analog gear, the plugins, before and after. You kind of want to take away as many variables as you can because there are already a lot of them. But since Smart Limit came out, it just made its way into my workflow seamlessly because it sounds great and it has, for me, a specific task, right? Which, for example, it doesn't substitute Ozone Maximizer, which is another limiter that I use, or other limiter that I use, like the Sonics, for specific purposes. This one, I feel it's arguably the most transparent out there right now when you don't want to be extra loud. But when you have like sensitive material, so to speak, for example, an acoustic piece or something more smooth, something that doesn't mask the possible potential distortion of a brick wall limiter or an aggressive brick wall limiter, that's the key. I only wish they would give me the option of taking the true peak away and just let me decide when I want to use it or not, because sometimes I don't use it because of the default and impossible to remove true peak.
One more word and you won't survive.
Okay, I analyzed my piece, which is an acoustic performance live, and just so you can access the bottom functions here, let's just knock some dB down here just to show.
I'll seek you out, flay you alive. One more word and you won't survive. And I'm not scared of your stolen power.
Do you see? I am knocking down like 4 dB and a half there. It's just for this test. Don't do it at home. Like, don't do it on like an actual mix. But dude, it's crazy how transparent it is on a track that has everything so exposed. This is a live performance, just guitar and vocals.
You'll be waiting in vain. I've got nothing for you to gain. Taking it slow, feeding the flame.
An absolutely amazing limiter, definitely making the list. Let's go to the next one. All right, next is 2 models from Ozone 10 at this point that we just updated. And one is, I don't want to talk about this really because it's a dirty little secret. It's such a great processor and it saved the day more time than I can remember. And that's why I never talked about it before. But of course, I'm joking. It's out there and a lot of people know it. But the low-end focus module of Ozone, I think Advanced, I don't know if the standard has it as well. It's so freaking great. And my 9 times out of 10 use of it is just to bring up a kick that is either too slow, which happens so often, especially when I'm mastering like EDM and, you know, whoever mix it, or the producer just use a too sluggish kick. Punch doesn't have a real punch, it just have a click. And then the sluggish low end, you miss the body, right? Same thing, sometimes they just don't give the kick enough punch. It only has the clicky top. Let me give you just a quick example. Let's add punchiness to this metal track here. It really adds the punch and power in the low end. I really, really like this module. And the next one from Ozone 10, so we count like a 1 plugin in this case. It's the good old E major, which I always loved. You've seen me featuring it in several videos and in several mixes. But now in version 10, we have the recover side and the new GUI, by the way, which I really, really like. And it's simple. This is my favorite multi-band imager because you have so much control and it sounds actually great.
Photo. Chop out a bit of money on the back end. She be screaming, daddy, put me back in. I ain't got no time, this is mackin'. Girl, player, acting. Now you wanna see about the bird flow? You don't really know that I know. I ain't got no time for the game or the lame. I'ma get it one down. Photo. Click. Pause. What you really wanna talk about? Pause. How you wanna go and run my life? Pause. If you got the dollar to go and get. If you really wanna see me, you know that they gon' drip. If you really got it poppin', to go get. I ain't wanna talk, I don't.
Subtle, smooth, you don't really hear artifacts. This is as straight as it gets. Ozone 10 as a whole, but these two models are by far my favorites. Let's go to the next one. My buddy Avi Weinberg Mastering Console. This is an absolute beast of a plugin. And I gotta be honest, I had it for a while. Shout out to Luca, by the way, he sent it to me. And I tried it, I spent some time with it. I liked it, that's why it's in my computer. But it's so packed with different features that I actually didn't have the time to master this plugin, pun intended, in the best mastering video on a mastering console. I just know that I do want to dig into it and spend time with it because it's got, first of all, features that no other plugin out there has. Second, is modeled after one of the absolute best custom-made console. Howie console, which is by a very well-known brand, is an absolute piece of art. And they model all its converters. Howie's got 3. Actually, we were supposed to do a video together, me and Howie. I need to get back in touch with him because when he's available, I'm not available, and so on. Anyway, he's got 3 different converters that he uses when he wants a specific sound. He has an old school, I think, DSD converter, which is, you know, a signature sound that he's been using for a long time in some of my absolute favorite records. And then it's got other converters, and they modeled all of them. You can see ADC, so the capturing converter. Whether you want to clip it or you don't want to clip it, they all have a specific sound. I think that alone is so freaking cool. Actually, if you do want a dedicated video review on Acoustica Audio HWMC, which is Avi Weinberg Mastering Console, let me know in the comments down below, and if enough people are interested, and if you guys want to learn this plugin, we can think about doing a dedicated video for it. You have a parametric equalizer. They also model, as you can see here, is Mytek DAC, the DCS, the Mytek Plus tape, and then the capture, the analog to digital. You have a clipper, you have a limiter, and then you have 4, I think, different compressor. You have a germanium, lead, silicon, and germanium 2. I'm just gonna mess really quick with the converters and give it a little bit of limiting here.
Him really need hard to the point him lose him son where him recently seed. Little after that come him turn feel left ya feature in the ancestor. Now me heart a bleed because him gone. Can't see him again. Sad song I sing for him again. Yo with him, me nah feel rhythm again. Oh no, me nah see my friend.
Oh, I already love this combination, DCS and C1. You heard how much more colored the last one, the Mytek Plus tape, was. So definitely a plugin that is worth learning, worth having. Avi Weinberg Mastering Console, Acoustica Audio. Let's get to the next one. Sometimes we use multi-band compressors in mastering. Not by default, I said it many times. And sometimes we want full control. Like, for example, our MC404 by Max DSP, which we've seen in another video. And sometimes you want more simple, more musical, and just somewhat a character piece. You know, I used to have for the longest time the 1973. I absolutely love that compressor. I don't have it anymore because when I moved to US, I couldn't bring everything with me, and I miss it very, very much. Aside from the fact that the hardware is an absolute steal for the money, and also a great vocal compressor. I actually mixed McSolaar vocals for a Geopolitik album with that. But the Softube version is, as many of the analog emulation by Softube, absolutely great. Look at this one more like a broad stroke kind of compressor as opposed to super fine tuning like the Mac DSP or others like that. Like a big tone shaper, okay? This is how I look at it.
Him really need hard to the point him lose him son where him recently seed. Little after that come him turn feel left ya feature in the ancestor. Now me heart a bleed because him gone. Can't see him again. Sad song I sing for him again. Yo with him, me nah build rhythm again.
Alright, you can see you can use the gain on a given band. Just for example, I did in this case add a little low end. It's just a great plugin, very, very musical, very easy to use, especially when you start using the automatic release settings, which I don't like usually, automatic release settings, but on the 1973, they always worked. Unless I wanted the super fast release, which on a multiband, it doesn't really happen often. One of the three settings, because the automatic release on this one, you have a fast, a medium, and a slow. One of the three always worked and was actually the best choice. So definitely to have Drummer 1973. I want to end this video with one of my new favorite limiters. I kind of slept on it for the longest time. And then I found out that in combination with a couple of other things, it made its way into my masters like very, very often. Invisible limiter G2, I actually have the original as well. I absolutely love this limiter. It's like a good combination of one of the loudest and one of the cleanest, depending on the material. Again, just all the other mastering limiters. I love the different modes here, even if the difference sometimes is very, very subtle, but I still have a clipper function. I have upsampling up to Oblivion, and I have the bias, which I really like, is some sort of low mid coloration and saturation that make things thicker. You have different types of automatic releases, or you can be manual. I really, really like this this limiter. Like I said, it's a great combination of one of the loudest out there if you want, and one of the most transparent, especially in a specific context. But I think this is it for this video. I want to know, what are your favorite mastering plugins so far this year, the most used, in the comments down below. And if you like the video, please don't forget to leave a like. Keep an eye on the channel because we have a ton of news, exciting news for you guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up, man, take control. Heart is so gone, my tight, don't you know?